In this three-part video series, I am presenting an overview of Buddhist history, beliefs and practices. And each video ends with some biblical reflections. And this is the third and final video of this overview series, which focuses on the common practices of Buddhists. Buddhists practice their religion in vastly different ways. And any attempt to explain Buddhism is complicated by this. The great majority of the world's Buddhists belong to the code of Buddhism we know as Mahayana, the great vehicle. And most of these Mahayana Buddhists are of various Chinese ethnicities or have been strongly influenced by the way that this form of Buddhism developed in China, even though it began in India. In many Buddhist societies, people accumulate merit or good karma by showing their reverence to monks and serving them. Monks play a crucial role in the organisation and rituals that are associated with dedicating new houses and marriage ceremonies. They're also relied upon to guide the deceased from the realm of chaos to a better rebirth, while safeguarding the peace of the living. Monks are also honoured for their occult powers, their ability to make amulets, holy water, to insert protective power into Buddhist images, to make astrological calculations, and for all sorts of practices which are designed to ward off evil, which includes tattooing. There are lots of rules that monks observe which govern their personal conduct, and there's a whole set of these rules, the Patimokkha rules, which are set out in the Tripitaka, the three baskets, the Pali scriptures. And there are 227 of such rules for monks, bhikkhus, and 311 for nuns, bhikkhunis. And these rules include eating only prior to midday and having nothing to do with the handling of money. The punishments range widely in severity, from simple confession, for example, if a monk behaves disrespectfully, to permanent expulsion from the Sangha, for example, if a monk commits homicide. There are in fact 4 rules which, if broken, automatically require expulsion. First, killing a human being. Secondly, sexual immorality. Thirdly, theft. And fourth, falsely claiming supernatural powers. The Dhammapada emphasises how important it is for monks to purify their minds. We read there, "Those who put on the saffron robe without purifying the mind, who lack truthfulness and self-control, are not fit to wear the saffron robe. But those who have purified their minds, who are endowed with truth and self-control, are truly fit to wear the saffron robe." Now, in practice, what a monk is allowed to do or is prohibited from doing varies considerably from sect to sect. In some sects, vegetarianism is optional. The Buddha himself, by the way, ate meat. But in other sects, they are strictly vegetarian. So monks are very vegetarian in that case. Some sects prohibit monks from handling money, while others merely prohibit the amassing of wealth. And in many sects, most sects, monks are required to be celibate, but in some sects they can marry. Buddhism did not originate as a secular philosophy. Buddhist scriptures, in all traditions, are suffused with supernatural phenomena. And in an uncreated universe, this necessarily presupposes uncreated, mystical and magical powers. And wherever Buddhism has developed, it has merged with often animistic, pre-existing religions. Seeking to tap unseen powers is pervasive in Buddhist practice. Spinning prayer wheels does not involve prayer as Christians know it, but is an exercise in magic. The same is the case with the utterance of mantras. For example, the untranslatable Om Mani Padme Hum, often written on paper, inserted into prayer wheels, or inscribed on rocks or bricks. Look at this picture. It shows someone spinning prayer wheels, on which are inscribed the words Om Mani Padme Hum. Divination is commonly practiced. Just go to a Buddhist temple and watch how Buddhists do their worship. While they're presenting their offerings, they might shake a holder containing numbered sticks until one of them falls out, and then the worshipper collects a piece of paper with a corresponding number to find guidance. In all non-Western Buddhist traditions, and even in many Western forms as well, meditation takes the mind into mysticism, magic, and at times the occult. For example, some practitioners practice deity yoga, which involves visualizing themselves as a deity and using mandalas, which are diagrammatic aids to meditation, depicting the Buddhist universe. Look at this picture. It shows a Tibetan mandala. Now, mandalas are sometimes constructed with coloured sand, which is allowed to blow away after completion by way of symbolising impermanence. Now, this is just a sample of some of the practices that are carried out by Buddhists worldwide, and with such practice in mind, I'll now make some biblical reflections. First of all, concerning monasticism. Monasticism does not belong to biblical Christianity. Yes, Christian monasticism did develop in church history in the 3rd century AD, and as in Buddhism, while Christian monasticism had some commendable features, it also involved ascetic practices that significantly diverged from biblical teaching. As in most Buddhist monastic schools, so too Christian monks practice celibacy, which incidentally only became standard for Roman Catholic priests after a ruling in the 12th century AD. But the Bible itself, while honouring those who are enabled to live a single life of devotion to God, nevertheless recognises not merely that marriage is the norm, but actually insists on it as absolutely essential for those who want to ensure that their natural sexual longings are properly ordered. And so Paul recognises the right of Christian leaders to be accompanied by believing wives. That's in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 5. And we find severe censure of those who forbid marriage and abstinence from certain foods. Now, that's 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verses 1 to 3. So there is nothing super spiritual about living an ascetic life. Restrictive rules, such as those that are expressed in the Buddhist Patimokkha rulings, don't really fit well with New Testament teaching. They come into the category of those things which have an appearance of wisdom and yet are expressive of a false humility, as we read at the end of Colossians chapter 2. And notwithstanding the way such rules involve, quote, harsh treatment of the body, as the end of Colossians 2 says, they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgence. Secondly, those statements we read at the end of Colossians 2 are immediately followed by comments concerning focusing of the mind, which makes them immensely relevant to an evaluation of Buddhist meditation. Because Paul goes on to say, since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. For Christians, the setting of the mind does not involve the same tight focusing of the mind which is so basic to Buddhist meditation. Provided the Christian's mind is oriented by the Lordship of Jesus Christ, then the mind can roam freely. For Buddhists, the object of meditation is extremely varied. And indeed, there are strong traditions of meditating on corpses at various stages of decomposition. For Christians, the appropriate objects of meditation are much more circumscribed. And so we are exhorted, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So Christian meditation is strongly commended, but unlike Buddhism, apart from such broad guidelines, there are no rules and there are no particular ways in which meditation should be practiced. Thirdly, while Buddhism acknowledges a realm of godlike beings called devas or devas, and it treats those who are said to become Buddhas as though they're virtually self-made gods with godlike abilities, like omniscience, it's essentially atheistic in denying that there is a creator God who sustains all life in the universe. So consequently, practices which presuppose and depend upon the operation of supernatural powers are involved in Buddhism, and which don't recognise God as creator. And as Paul will say in Romans 1, that means that they necessarily involve exchanging the truth of God as creator for a lie, and venerating created things rather than the creator. And that is what the Bible calls idolatry. And that's the name given, as Paul explains in Romans 1, to the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. So all religion is not trying to find its way towards understanding ultimate reality. Since that ultimate reality is God, then all religion is really a way of moving away from the truth about God. And that is the danger of religion. And that is why it's so essential to know God as he has revealed himself in the Lord Jesus Christ.